Namaste, everyone. Thank you for being here. So I thought with it being Labor Day, I would create this workshop called Labor of Love. We'll get to the labor of love in the second half of this practice. We're going to start off with a flow, and then we'll end with restorative postures. So you're going to get a nice blend. I was trying to advertise this as a gentle, blissful flow, since we're kind of combining the classes together. With that being said, I will give you a couple options with some poses to either be more gentle or to lean more into the blissful sector. So either way. So we've been going over the chakras, and this is lining up with the fourth chakra, which is the heart. So we've been going over all the other three, and we've been talking about how the lower three are more about the physical plane of existence that we experience here, and how they've been heavily impacted upon, what's happening in the world right now. And my hope is that we're on a trajectory up the ladder, and we'll be moving into the heart space soon, where we can find more balance and harmony, and how to start working more together to create more unison. So first chakra, just to be ever so brief, is about our sense of belonging, sense of safety, sense of security, our roots, our tribal identity, our physical identity. It's the earth element. Moving to the second, it's the water element. It's our sexual identity, our emotional identity. It's how we relate to others at more at a personal level. It's the center of pain and pleasure. It governs our reproductive system. It governs our creativity. Moving on up to the third chakra, it's the element of fire. It's our place of power. It's what gives us a drive. It's the seat of the ego. It gives us the right to act on things. It gives us that inner strength, inner state of resilience. I said fire element. And then when we're moving up to the heart center, this goes into the element of air. The color is green. I tried to wear green today for you. The secondary color is pink. So with that being said, it governs the heart and the lungs, the thymus gland, our immunity system. So our immunity system is based on this particular chakra. I've talked about the counter forces, or the things that can really derail us energetically with each chakra. The first one being fear. The second one being guilt and shame. The third one being stress and anger. And the fourth one is grief. So we tend to hold grief, according to Chinese medicine, we can hold grief in our lungs. And I know this from experiencing it with my friend, Daniel. I don't know if you guys know Daniel. He worked at Half Moon a little bit. He would set classes on occasion. He did the reflexology in the back. But his mother passed away in like August a couple years ago. And he was one of her caretakers in the end. And he even lived with her for a long time through even his adulthood. And months later, when I ran into him, he had this awful cough. And he was like, I cannot get rid of this cough. And he was like, I've been doing all the acupressure points, the reflexology, all the things, all the yoga, all the pranayama. And I was like, it's grief. You're holding the grief in your lungs. And he hadn't thought about that piece of it. But they say we also hold grief in our neck. So I just wanted to bring that up as well. So with the heart chakra, think about some of the things that could derail us, not just grief, but things like betrayal, a loss, a death of a loved one. It could be something that, a great loss for you. It could be anything that just feels like it's just breaking you open at your heart level, right? But what I want you to also recognize is the term for the fourth chakra is anahata. And anahata translates to mean unstruck or unhurt. But the heart chakra is also said to be the seat of the soul. So if it's the seat of the soul at the heart of hearts, even though we're experiencing this emotion and this loss and this kind of breaking here on the physical plane in this physical reality, on another plane in the spiritual reality, we're not broken. We're not hurt. It's just an experience we're having here right now, but it's not the essence of who we are in totality. So I love that because it kind of takes it to another level. And I think if you're really practicing yoga and understanding that at that level, that when you do go through great loss or grief or in that experience of heartbreak, that you can remember that and it can give you some hope and it can bring back the light. Anything else I want to say about the heart chakra right now? Yes. Think about when, okay, we've talked about this before, but in case you forgot. It's been scientifically proven that the highest electromagnetic field that stems from your body that can be measured by science is from your heart center, not your brain. We often think, oh, the brain is like the commander, it's in charge of everything. It's gotta, with all the mind stuff, it's gotta be the most electric of everything in the body, but it's actually the heart. I've said this in the past, but I think it's a good time to bring it up again, that when there have been heart transplants, neurons, we think of neurons being in the mind, just like the neuron pathways or the grooves that we start to create through habitual thinking. That's why our thoughts often go in the same direction. We're often repeating the same kind of thoughts because it creates that pathway. There's also neurons that are held in the heart. So it holds memory. So some people that have had a heart transplant, you could have read some of these articles in the past too, but like there's a case of one little boy who had a heart transplant. And this doesn't always happen, but the mother of the deceased child, right, who volunteered her child's organs to be given to those in need, had the opportunity to meet the little boy who received her child's heart. Now, this little boy had never met her, didn't know her, didn't know what she looked, didn't know anything. And his mother had agreed that she could come to the hospital and meet with him and talk with him. She opens up the door to come into the hospital room, and the boy actually calls her mama. Just brings tears to my eyes. Like, he knew who she was from this new heart. And there's other stories of adults who have had the heart transplants and they have memory recall of the other person's life that wasn't theirs. It's crazy and cool and magnificent and miraculous and wild, all wrapped into one. So the heart is so crucial. It's so important. If it's the fourth and the three above it are like the higher, more kind of spiritual centers, the heart is like the meeting place of the physical and the spiritual, between spirit and matter, between the masculine and the feminine, between kind of like the opposites, which is why a yin yang symbol is great symbol for the heart, because it's that blending of what could be considered opposites. When you look at yoga philosophy, they talk about Shiva existing here, Shakti existing here. And then when we do our practice and we do our meditation, we sit in the heart center where Shiva and Shakti can come together. They kind of call the heart the altar and the marriage between the two. So it's just a beautiful thing. This is my favorite chakra. And I'm kind of sad that I'm not sad that I'm going to Sedona, but I'm sad that I'm not leading these classes all week, because this is probably my favorite one to teach besides the third eye. So I'm glad you're here for this. We're going to start off opening the heart. And we're going to start off in a more restorative position using blocks. Before we set up for this, I wanted to say two more things. Think about when we get depressed. We've all been there at some point, even if it was in your youth, right? When we get depressed, we're sunken in. we lose our sense of posture. That starts to shut off the breath, and the breath starts to get shallow because the lungs don't have the room to expand. And if we continue with that shallow breath, we're going to stay in that mode of depression. So we're using back bends to help to battle depression, to help to combat anything like that, and to help to open it and expand the heart. And the last thing I want to say about the heart before you get into this position, think about when you go to hug someone. Typically when we go to hug, we talk about this in teacher training, so Christy's already heard this. When you go to hug someone, we typically move, right? So that the right side of our chest, just think about how you would typically hug. The right side of your chest is touching the right side of their chest. That's kind of a protective thing that's subconscious that we're not even recognizing. Because if we were to move over to the other side, heart to heart, and that can be very vulnerable. It can also be intimate. So even with your partner, you're probably going right to right. So I want you to, that will be your own work today. Like when you see someone that you want to hug today, make sure you go heart to heart. Left side of your chest to the left side of their chest. Hold it for 20 seconds, because 20 seconds of a hug sends off really good hormones in the body. I always call the arms the extensions of the heart. Or I call it the wings of the heart. It's how we can embrace each other. It's how we can give and offer ourselves to each other. It's also how we can receive. So even in this balance and harmony of the heart, we're not balanced in the heart if we're constantly giving. We have to be open to receive as well. And that's a hard lesson, I think, for women. Sorry, men. But women have the tendency to be the givers, right? And we give and we give and we give and we give. And as mothers, we give and we give and we give to the point where we're depleted. But it's really important that we're open to receive and like fill our cup again. By the way, the symbol of the chakra, I've talked about the symbol of the water. It looks like a cup. It's a triangle. I can't put the whole triangle. You know what I'm trying to say. It looks like a cup, right? That's the symbol for water. That is within the heart center. But they also have the triangle pointed up. The triangle pointed up is like the fire element, or what means transformation. Triangle pointed down, manifestations, physical reality. Triangle pointed up, spiritual liberation. So the heart actually contains both. We can get imbalanced if we're giving too much, or on the flip side, or we're receiving too much and not giving. So I had to be 10 years single to figure out, and dating a little bit in the mix of that, to figure out I'm completely giving myself away. And I had to figure out how to self-love. When you learn how to love yourself, then you learn how to create healthy boundaries. And then you realize, okay, I can't give anymore. It's time for me to receive. It's a hard lesson to learn, but if you feel like you're always constantly giving, think about that. Practice more and more self-love, self-care, and then you'll be able to put those healthy boundaries. Okay, we're gonna take a T, 2 blocks, where it looks like a T, just a few inches between the two. The first block on its middle height is gonna go right under your spine at your rib cage. Your head will roll back to rest on the taller block. And if it's jabbing you, or if it doesn't feel comfortable to submit your weight into, I would come up and adjust. And if you don't mind me being in your space, if you need help or assistance, I can come and see what the problem is and try to keep you comfortable. And then have your arms angled to your sides with your palms spun open. When we spin the palms to face up, it's not only a symbol of being receptive, but we're allowing the shoulders to roll back, which broadens the chest. Now come to the awareness of your chest. And I want you to notice the place in your chest that usually caves in or is sunken in at times when you are not sitting upright, or maybe sitting for long periods of time at your desk, hunched over, or in that feeling of loss and depression. Notice now how the block right up underneath your spine is helping to open the cavity of the chest. So it's no longer caved in, it's open, it's blossoming. Rest your eyes and start to hone in on your breath, breathing in and out with depth and control. Feeling the wave of the breath rolling upward in the heart's direction. Let your heart feel as though it's becoming more and more buoyant upon the wave of the breath, less hidden. I want you to consider how one of the most uplifting feelings we ever experience is falling in love. Making that heartfelt connection to another human being and feeling equally adored and loved by them. Then also equally consider how nothing is as devastating as the loss of love. I want you to set your intention to use this time together to tap into your heart, to open your heart, so that you can leave here with an expansive heart, because an expansive heart awakens us in so many ways. The heart chakra positive qualities is love, compassion, self-acceptance, harmony, gratitude, and devotion. The life lesson or spiritual lesson here in the center is to know that we have the right to love and to be loved. We have the right to love and to be loved. Say that mentally within. I have the right to love and to be loved. If we are imbalanced in this energy field, we can become codependent, experience poor boundaries. We can be possessive or jealous, shy, feeling lonely or isolated, feeling a lack of empathy, feeling bitterness or depression. We can be fearful of relationships or be narcissistic. Disorders of the heart, lungs, breast, arms can be a result of too much of an imbalance in this field. I want you to imagine that as you are resting in your heart, that you're in a beautiful green pasture. The field is lush and the grass feels plush. It's so fresh, it's so vibrant, it's so soft to the touch. So imagine you're walking through that field of greenery. And right over the crest of the heel, you discover rows and rows and rows of pink tulips. Something you would see in Amsterdam. Let the green pastures lead you to these rows and rows of pink tulips with their green leaves. I'll give you just a moment here in silence. Now that you're hearing music pipe up, I want you to turn and flip your palms downward on the floor. Start to grip in your core and slowly begin to rise up out the blocks. If it's better for you to bend the knees and roll to the side, that's okay too. Either way works. We're going to send the blocks off to the side. Find your bolster and sit on top of it a moment. So since air is the element of the fourth chakra, we're going to do a little more pranayama. This pranayama I learned from Sri Sri Ravi Shankar. And you're going to start with fist right in front of your chest. On the in-breath, you're going to lift your arms and your fingers are going to extend nice and wide. And then as you exhale, the hands are going to come back down. Okay? And it's short and sharp in and out through the nose. So it looks like this. Yeah, go ahead and start. So think about how I mentioned the shoulders, the arms, and the hands also correlate to the heart chakra. 3, 2, and 1. Relax the back of the hands to the left. Take a moment to notice any of the energy that's percolating that you've awakened in your arms, shoulders, or hands. You may even feel it within your chest. We'll do another round. Bring your hands to the fist, and let's begin. So anytime we extend our limbs, whether it's the arms over the body, or if we're standing or lying down and extending the legs, then it helps to lengthen the back. 3, 2, and 1. So just notice how just doing this pranayama with this arm work helps to maintain some good posture. The prana is being focused in the heart. We're going to do it one more round when you're ready. Three, 2, and 1, and relax the arms back down. Just let that settle, let that be absorbed. Some of those quick, sharp breaths can really help to express the base of the lungs and anything that's been collecting at the base of the lungs. We're kind of forcing it back out. And gently start to open the eyes. Already, don't you feel that buzz in your chest and shoulders? It's pretty powerful. Let's go ahead and take our strap. We're going to come up to stand and do some work with the shoulders, because if we're going to open up our hearts and work with some back bends, Oh, here, take this one. And please know, if you don't have a strap at home, that you don't have to go purchase one. You can use a scarf, a belt, necktie. All right, well, we're gonna start opening the strap all the way up. Look down at your feet. Line up your knees and hips over the ankles and solidify the feet down to the floor so your legs are engaged. You're gonna hold the strap wider than your body, and you're gonna lift the arms straight up. Good, drill the feet down, lift the arms overhead, and then slowly start to take the strap back behind you. And notice where you get caught or stuck, right? I'm stuck right here. So wherever you're stuck, slide your hands a little wider, and then see if you can go back a little more, and then pause in that space. If you're stuck again, I feel a little stuck here, go slightly wider until you can take it straight back behind your chest. Now lower the strap down towards your legs. Let that go. All right, inhale, come up, pause right behind your heart. Take one more deep breath. Opening up that connective tissue, lift the arms straight up overhead, and then exhale, bring it down. Is it okay? Okay. So impressed with you. Inhale, bring the arms up. Exhale, take it back. Pausing right behind the heart before releasing it down. That felt great. One more of those. Inhale, bring the strap back up, just behind the chest. All the way up over the crown, and then release. All right, we're gonna keep the same measurement, and we're gonna lift the arms back overhead. But this time, we're gonna bring the left arm to the left ear. Glue that arm to the side of your head and reach it skyward, and keep the right arm reaching out to the side and slightly crank the right hand back. Yeah, without turning your hips. So keep drilling the feet down, keep your hips square. You're laughing, did you feel your hips starting? Yeah. Good, inhale, bring it back up. Exhale, now right arm to right ear. At first, just keep your left arm out to the side, shoulder height, and then slowly start to crank it back without turning your hips. Just isolating the shoulders. So we're really gonna open up the shoulders because if we're gonna focus on back bends, the shoulders and the front of the hips are also included. It's not just about the vertebrae. Inhale, bring the left arm back up. This time you're gonna lower the right arm further down and also again, take it back behind you. Breathe up into your chest. Breathe down into your feet. All right, one more. Inhale, bring the right arm up. Left hand goes down this time, lower than shoulder height, and then you're taking that arm back behind. Breathe up into the heart and down into your feet. Good. Release that a moment. We're going to fold the strap in half, and then we're going to hold it about shoulder distance apart. We're going to lift the arms straight up overhead. And then on the exhalation, we're bringing the strap just behind our head. Okay, now I want you to think about your elbows. The strap's in place behind your head. And I want you to think about winging your elbows back. So it's amazing. Do you mind me saying? I'm so impressed with Christy. I'm like freaking out and how well she's doing this because she had heart surgery last year.
Yeah, 10 months ago. Yeah.
How many months ago?
10.
Yeah. It's incredible. And then inhale, lift the arms back up, and exhale, release. Okay, we're going to do that again. However, this time we're going to lean the legs forward, and we're going to lift the ribs, and we're going to start to lean the head back and take the strap up and back behind us. So I'll turn sideways. You can see, inhale, lift the arms up. Exhale, bring the strap just behind the head again, and then wing the elbows back, just like we did before. Yeah. And then when you're ready, now lean your legs forward. Lift up through your waist, lift up through your floating ribs, lift up through your chest, start pulling the head back, and now begin to lift and lengthen through the arms. You're cranking the arms back and up and up and back. So I don't like doing these kind of I don't like doing freestyle standing backward bends, but I absolutely love it with the strap. And then slowly bring it back. I always feel like I'm tweaking something when I do it solo, but for some reason with the strap, I feel like I'm getting the length in the space. Anyway, it's just my experience. Right. Oh yeah, one more. Let's not use the strap for this. Let the strap go. We're gonna do Gomukhasana arms. And we're gonna start with the left arm being thread behind the back. Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna try to slide the hand up the mid-back, and you may have to inch arm it or swim it up with a little extra movement. Fly the right arm skyward, turn your hand so it's facing the back wall, flex from the elbow, and you may or may not be able to catch the fingers. Do not worry if you can't, because you're about to see on my second side, I can't catch the other side. As women, we have the tendency to kind of push the ribs forward. So if you're feeling like you're getting ribby, draw the ribs down and your thighs slightly back. Yeah. Now close the eyes. Breathe into that left shoulder. The affirmation is free in my heart. I choose to live without fear. So we need to draw the strength from the third chakra to override the fear that can happen from the first chakra. And it's the flames of transformation that can burn away the fear to open up the heart to courage and bravery, faith and devotion. All right, let's release. All right, we're gonna take the right arm and thread it behind you. I was so impressed with my son. So the second day after he was dealing with neck stuff, he remembered this. And he got really excited because it was the first time he ever could meet the hands together. Okay, so the right arm, this one I have more trouble with. Left arm's gonna reach skyward, turn the palm to face away from you, bend the elbow. And it's okay if they don't clasp together, but if you're starting to poke forward with your ribs, iron them back down into your skin. Keep the spine more erect instead of the back bend. And just let the shoulder work and your posture open your heart, as well as your pranayama. Affirming as you hold free in my heart, I choose to live without any fear. I love override the fear. Jimi Hendrix once said, when the power of love overcomes the love of power, the world will know peace. I woke up this morning with, it's the power of love in my head. And I was like, it's gotta be a workshop today. All right, release the arms. Okay, just kind of roll out the shoulders a little bit. Okay, I think we're ready for a flow. So stand at the top of your mat. Make sure the rest of your mat is clear. Ground your feet, zip up through your legs, zip up through your midriff, and lift the crown of your head. Bring the palms together to Anjali Mudra, prayer position at the heart. This is a great mudra, by the way, for the heart chakra, because it's bringing the left and the right together. Inhale, let your arms circle up. We're going to start with upward worship. So we're placing the palms back together overhead. We're gazing up in the direction of the hands, Hasta Drishti. If you want to look beyond the hands, it's Urdhva Drishti. As you exhale, we're going to slide the hands down the midline, coming into a standing forward fold of Uttanasana. So we've been bringing out all this energy in the upper part of the body, and now it's like hello legs, hamstrings. So let's just be here for a moment to warm up the back of the body. Shake your head yes if you're always saying no. Shake your head no if you're always saying yes. And if you have a pretty good balance between the two, do both. Now, plug the feet down a little bit deeper, lift your legs up a little bit higher, and bow over, trying to magnetize the heart lower towards your knees and chins. Inhale, lift halfway up, hands come to the shin bones as you extend out through the vertebrae, and lower back in Uttanasana. On your next in-breath, we're going to step into plank pose. You know, to make it more gentle, you can always drop your knees into tabletop position instead. Now, I want you to focus on heart chakra while you're in this pose. Again, if this gets taxing, come to tabletop. Your thighs are plucking up towards the sky. Your belly is hugging in towards your back body. But what I want you to notice is, what are you doing with your hands and your arms? This is the heart chakra. Make sure your hands are aligned under your shoulders. The fingers are splayed and extended long. Make sure you're really pushing down through your hands so your arms get locked and get strong like columns. Feel how the heart wants to slightly hide away. You're feeling in the gap. You're getting strong in your muscles in your upper back. Notice how we have the tendency to drop the head when we're focused on that. So now lift your head, slightly look forward and out. Shine the heart forward. And now tip forward, lower down to Chaturanga, elbows squeeze in. Inhale, land your legs. Lift up to Urdhva Mukha Svanasana. Your hips are off the floor. And then exhale, come down to your belly. When you come down to your belly, extend your leg bone back, your toes back. Lift and float your hands. Squeeze the arms in towards your side ribs, baby cobra. Notice when you squeeze your arms back, you keep your legs long. It's going to really fire up the muscles in your back. This is a great strengthener for the erector muscles alongside the spine. Breathe diaphragmatically. Now place your palms down, roll up more into cobra, a higher king cobra. Let your shoulders crank down and back away from the face and ears. Good. Exhale, come back down to the belly. Inhale, push up to all fours. And when you exhale, keep your hands cemented to the floor. Slowly send your hips back towards your feet. Keep your arms outstretched, your elbows flying up. And no worries if your head touches down or not. We're trying to create traction through the arms, traction through the spine. We're really trying to stretch into the pits of the arms. I love this quote, and I just heard it a few years ago, but I say it a lot. B.K.S. Iyengar said, when you keep the pits of the arms open, you're less apt to be depressed. On your next inhalation, rise up to tabletop. From tabletop, curl your toes under, lift up and back to Adho Mukha Svanasana, your downward facing dog. From downward facing dog, focus on heart chakra. That begins with the main foundation of your hands. Slide that awareness and alignment up through the arms. Feel a similar stretch in the pits of the arms as you sail your seat more skyward. Let your head hang in between, gazing back towards the feet or the space in between. And on your next inhalation, you're going to step your right foot all the way forward and up between the hands. Give yourself a helping hand if need be. Turn and plant your back foot. You're coming up, but you're leaning forward in a diagonal line. Your arms are going to reach up, connecting together, lacing into Jupiter Mudra. This is the lightning lunge. Really power down through your back foot. Anchor into your front foot. Make sure you're not sinking in with your chest. And then from lightning lunge, slowly rise, erect the spine. Lean the head back like we did in upward worship. Hasta Drishti. Now think about your side lats, the sides of your chest. Reach up through that region. Exhale, separate your hands wide, open the gate of the heart, and then pour down. Step back plank. When you come to plank, lower down to your knees. From your knees, untuck your toes. Keep your hips aligned so the thighs are perpendicular to the floor. The arms are going to stretch out. And you're not going to sink into your shoulders, though. You're going to hold what's called puppy pose. So basically, you're trying to create a similar alignment from your wrist to your hips, like you would in down dog. You're just closer to the floor. And it's not quite as dramatic. Rachel, if you could cinch in your bottom ribs and your upper belly. And yes, beautiful. Feel the difference there? That's your puppy. So in puppy, the third chakra, the core is engaged, and the shoulder blades are staying in the back. The armpits are staying elevated. All right, we're going to move from puppy into anahatasana, which is melting heart. So go ahead and sink down through your belly and chest. You're dropping into the shoulder joints and down towards your chin. Now, not everybody enjoys resting on the chin here. It's actually really good for my neck, but it may not be exceptional for yours. Think about any neck issues you have. Do you need more traction or do you need more curve? And if you don't know, just follow your intuition or what feels best. So remember, anahata means unstruck, unhurt. Feel as though your electromagnetic field is connecting to the heartbeat of the earth. By the way, the Schumann's resonance is the heartbeat of the earth. It's typically 6, 7, or 8. In August, it was rising up into 40s and it got as high into the 60s. That's how much energy is hitting this planet right now. Inhale, slowly lift up. Slide your hands back. Curl your toes. Relift, plank. Focus on core chakra, arms, hands, heart, upper back. Tip forward, lower down to Chaturanga Dandasana. Inhale, rise to upward facing dog. Exhale, lower down to your belly. Float the hands, baby cobra. Lengthen your leg bones back, glue your feet to the floor. Let your body get a little tighter. And again, to keep this more gentle, if you need to do Sphinx, just do Sphinx. Okay? If you want to come up to King Cobra, you can rise up. Shoulders roll back. If your heels swap out, turn your heels slightly in. Good. Exhale, come back down to the brow. Inhale, push up all fours. Exhale, back into extended child's pose. Keep the elbows up. So these type of stretches that we're doing with the arms forward like this, extended child's pose, puppy pose, down dog, melting heart. This is actually promoting better breast health too, because of the drainage it allows from the waste products in the chest. Affirm here as you hold that our prayers for all of mankind
to live in harmony and in peace. Harmony and peace being the positives of the heart chakra when it's balanced. Inhale, rock up hands and knees. Exhale, downward facing dog. Inhale, let your left foot step ahead. Give yourself a helping hand if need be. Turn and plant your back foot. You're leaning forward, coming into lightning lunge. Powerful legs, strong foundation, strong sense of self. Good mode of self-acceptance. Inhale, exalt the warrior here. The front knee keeps lunging. But notice how even though the arms are up, you may be forgetting about the extra lift through your side lats, the sides of your chest. So promote that. Exhale. Spread your arms. Fold down. Spin away from the back heel. Step it up to the front. Open your heart upon arrival. Exhale, let it go. Inhale up to upward worship. Exhale, coming right back into the fold. Hinging from the hips. Gravitating the heart lower, loosening the neck. Inhale, halfway up. Exhale, fold in. Right, this flow is going to be different. Inhale, step back, plank. All right, so keep this the most gentle. If you need the most gentle, you're going to bring the left knee below your hip. Turn to your right foot and open up to a modified side plank. If you want to do it more blissful, step your right foot slightly forward in plank. Roll down to the outer edge of the left foot to the sole of the right foot. Slide your hand up to your heart as you come into the side plank, and then eventually fly the right arm skyward. If you really want to amp it up and you're welcoming a challenge today, take your right leg and soar it out over the other in midair. Yogi's choice. Know you have options. Exhale, come back to full plank. This is where we create the healthy boundaries. So, pure gentle, lower the right knee, spin down to the left foot, modified side plank. You want to take the blissful route from full plank, left foot steps forward, roll down to the feet, slide the hand to the heart first, then shine it up. And then if you want that additional challenge, fly the left leg up and down. Breathe. Good, everyone full plank. Exhale, Chaturanga. Inhale, upward facing dog. From up dog, I always modify up dog. I always keep these down. Turn the toes up, swan. And exhale into extended child's pose. And then that's going to be our new flow. So if that is not gentle enough for you, feel free to go back and forth between modified up dog and child's pose instead. But if you can kick the heels in when you come to the back bend, that swan, that's going to start to open up the front of the hips, right? For some of the deeper back bends, because we've been primarily focused on the shoulders. So you're rocking up and forward into swan on the inhale and dropping back to child's on the exhale. And do that a couple more rounds. So again, we're trying to open the front of the thighs, front of the hips with swan. Last round. Now come to piano hands, where you're on the fingertips or finger pads. So I mentioned different musical instruments go with different chakras. The drums, very tribal, is first. piano-like sounds and certain horns for the second. Bass guitar, cello for the third. But the fourth chakra is guitar. Think about a slide guitar, a steel guitar, a violin. Those higher tones of string instruments that pull at our heartstrings. All right, inhale, rock forward and up, flat palms, curl the toes, downward facing dog. Deep diaphragmatic breaths. Inhale, we're gonna step the right foot forward. We're gonna completely turn down to the left foot and bring the arms up to warrior two. Now in warrior two position, look at your front thigh bone. If the top of your thigh is much higher than your knee, either spread the feet more or purposely drop the top of the thigh and the right hip a little lower. And then zip up through your midriff, get your chest elevated, lay the arms out over the legs. You're gonna get more into your hips here. Remember, the hips are also about relationships. Usually if the second chakra is off, the fourth chakra is off, or vice versa. They're so intimately connected. Now, have your chin in line with your chest. You're turning that direction with your neck, and you're gonna thread the right arm under your left. So we've been really opening the shoulders up in the opposite way of this. I wanted to do a counter with eagle arms. Mold the arms together. Find your breath. Good, release the arms again. Exhale, windmill down to the floor. Good, right foot length. Now, we're coming back to side planks. Your right knee can come down first if you want to be the most gentle. Or the left foot will step forward and you can take it to the blissful level. Or you can even amp it up more if that's in your wheelhouse. Good. Exhale, full plank. Now, left knee down if you want to be the most gentle. Right foot forward if you want to open up to the blissful variation. And then of course you have that third option. So to truly be invested in your own heart is to honor your limitations, is to respect your boundaries, and that includes what's being asked for you on the mat. All right, come back to plank. Lower down to Chaturanga. Inhale to up dog. Heels and toes up. Swan to child's. And we're just gonna do a few more of those. We're getting closer and closer to restorative, okay? All right, next time you're ready, rock up to downward facing dog. We'll take that warrior two to the left. So inhale, left foot steps ahead. Back heel rolls down. Right arm will carry you up. And then shake out that alignment with your front thigh. Establish more work for your hips. Lift up through your chest, lay the arms. Keep your neck neutral, chin in line with your chest. And now left arm hooks under your right. Keep the upper arms parallel to the ground. Arms mold together, deep breaths. Release back, regular warrior two. Exhale, bring it on down. All right, bring the back foot forward. Open your heart up and exhale, release. Inhale all the way up to the top. Upward worship. exhale, bring your hands to the chest. All right, we're gonna find ourselves back down to the floor. So if you don't want to do the forward fold and step back to the floor, you can just come on down. Otherwise, inhale, upward worship. Exhale, fold through the middle. Inhale, lift and lengthen, Ardha Uttanasana. And then exhale, we're stepping back to plank and sinking down to the knees. All right, now this is where I need a blanket. So you might need one too, dependent on your thickness of your mat. And the holiness of your knees. Go ahead and find your blocks again. And take them to either side of your feet. We're not even going to use the blocks for the first one. But we're moving towards camel. So come to standing Vajrasana. And I want you to look over your shoulder and notice the habit of your feet. So I'm naturally pigeon-toed, so my heels want to flop out and toes want to turn in. You may have another issue with your feet, but I want you to stretch your toes back and push down through your ankles, even though the ankles may not touch the floor, okay? Your hands are going to come to your low back, and you're allowing the fingertips to lift your base ribs, the heel of the hands towards the buttocks, and you're going to take camel. And the hands are just helping to support and create space for the lumbar area. And the affirmation here with calm faith, I open myself to light. With calm faith, I open myself to light. Inhale, come up. All right, we're going to bring the hands down to table and go slowly with this. Slowly begin to drop the tailbone under, slowly begin to draw in through the lower and upper abdomen, eventually arching up through the shoulder blades. Bow on your head. Calf stretch. Take a couple more deep breaths. Feel as though you're breathing into the back door of the heart. And now slowly bring the hands in your direction. Safely come up. Now we're going to try this. With your block alongside your left ankle, like right in close proximity, you can actually tuck your toes and take your heel too. I don't know, there's something nice about a block though. So you can lean back to take your hand to the block, but notice how we tend to lean the hips back. You actually want your thighs to stay over the knees. So it's tucking the tailbone a little bit, lifting the right arm, gazing up towards the ceiling, maybe even hanging that arm back. More like a half camel. Bring the right hand now to the heart center, like half namaste, and draw up. All right, now the right hand to the right block. Okay, if you're leaning back with your hips, send them forward again. Elevate your left arm, maybe sail it back more towards your ear. Try to distribute the back bend through the vertebrae. Affirming with calm face, I open myself to light. Left hand to half namaste. Gently bring it up. Hands down to the floor. Tailbone drop down, belly splits in. Heart hides away. Cat stretch. We're gonna walk the hands back in. So this is our big pose today, by the way. Camel's a big pose. It used to be when I first started yoga, my honeymoon phase, I couldn't do enough camels. It was my absolute favorite. It wasn't a yoga class unless I had camel. Nowadays, it's not my favorite. It's just not. With age and things that have come up in my body, with trauma I've been through that's affected my heart center, it's like, ugh. gets a little ugly. But the poses that we have that relationship with are usually the ones that we need. Okay, so we're gonna do it one more time. But I'm gonna let you kind of choose your version. All right, we just did a couple different versions. You know, I can't even do like the full version anymore. I don't even want to do the full version anymore. That's the way I feel about it. You may want to keep it simple, right? You see Donna has her hands around. You may just want to keep it simple, just do a chest bump and just barely move into your neck at that point. Super gentle, still the pose. You may want to take both hands to the blocks and open up that way. You may prefer one of the other variations we did. Then inhale, bring it up. Separate the blocks away. Come into a full child. Breathe into your low back. Breathe into your belly. Breathe into your mid back. Breathe up into your chest. Slowly bring it up. We're just going to stay on the floor the rest of the time. The legs are going to stretch out. You're going to slide your feet in. The left foot is going to go underneath the right knee. Your right foot can either stay here or it can hop to the other side. Doesn't matter. This is more gentle. This is not as gentle. We can pick one. All right, we're going to twist to the right. So the first thing we're going to do is inhale, lift the chest. And we're going to take the left elbow to the opposite edge, yes, of the right knee. And you're spinning around to the right. Now, if you enjoy binding the arms, the left hand can cross up underneath the knee. This is not gentle, this is more blissful. The right hand can circle behind your back. You might be able to create the bind. Again, that's not gentle. If you want to keep it gentle, stay in that first formation. So close your eyes. Visualize a beautiful light beam coming out from your heart. Being sent in the direction you're facing, affirm and irradiate my love, my goodwill, and my compassion to soul friends everywhere. Exhale on one. So if you kept a leg straight before, you can just straighten the other leg and then the other knee. If you were doing the Lord of the Fish, you can take the right foot underneath the left knee and determine what's best, left foot on the inside or crossing it over. Lift your chest. Take the right elbow to the opposite side of the knee, spin to your left. So I can bind one side and I can't bind the other. I saw this post from a teacher that I teach with at another location. And her post was all about never say you can't do it. Because she was teaching, and she teaches a lot, and she teaches dance too. And she's never been able to bind her arms in that pose that I put you in. And one day she was teaching a week or two ago, and she says, I can't do this, but I'm going to try it. And guess what? She got it for the first time. And she was so happy she had someone take a picture of her. And she was trying to be the example, like, never say never, because sometimes, unbeknownst to you, it may reveal itself. It may happen. So think about what I'm bringing this up with the heart chakra is. The heart chakra gives us limitless potential, limitless love. Exhale and wind. So I don't know how many times you've been able to fall in love, because some of you have been married for a long time and you've been blessed with that. Someone like me has had to try it again and try it again and try it again.
That's the beauty of love. It is possible to fall in love again and again and again and again. And unfortunately, we look at that as a bad thing in our society. Can't tell you how many conversations I've been in with people and they're like, oh, but you know, they've been married like 2 or 3 times. And inside I just smile thinking, yeah, well, you're talking about me too. And that's okay. I've had the experience of falling in love many times. All right, ready to restore? We're gonna start off restorative back then with the bolster. We're gonna make it comfortable, hopefully comfortable. I would suggest maybe rolling a blanket under the knees and doing it the easier version where your whole spine is kind of laid out on top of the bolster with your head. Once you get settled, I'm gonna dim the lights. If you by chance grabbed a towel, you can absolutely take this as an opportunity to cover the eyes. I want you to take the time to settle into this pose. To make sure that you're supported everywhere you need to be. So if you need a second blanket for your head or your neck, or to sit on to give your hips a little bit of a boost, or to even cover your body, please let me know. I want you to do some simple, easy diaphragmatic breaths. Maybe controlled initially, but then eventually allowing it to become more natural. And it will become more natural since you're more supine. We've discussed matters of the heart, and the heart being the seat of the soul. We've talked about the color being green, secondary color pink. Any stones or crystals like emerald, moss agate, rose quartz, anything with that pink or green color is good for the center. Essential oils can be rose oil, grapefruit oil, anything that's uplifting to your spirit. Anything with a nice floral kind of fragrance. I want you to consider in this first position whether or not you feel as though your heart center is in balance. Maybe in a phase where it feels more open and expansive. You may be in a space where you've gotten a little hardened and a little bit more protective. So if you feel like you've been a little closed up like a rosebud, give yourself some self-love and compassion. Bring the self-acceptance in because life isn't easy. Relationships are not easy. Even the one we have with ourselves. these next few moments, just breathe in love, light. And breathe out and away anything that opposes that.
Next inhalation, slide your feet back. And rock your knees from side to side. Rolling to one side. Building yourself up. We're going to turn this bolster sideways. We're going to take the blanket, and you can either fold it in half long ways, or you can tri-fold it if you need it on the other side to support your shoulder. I'll show you what we're going to do. So we're going to do a restorative side bend. Now, I don't need this blanket under the shoulder, but a lot of people do, which is why I wanted to show it to you. I actually prefer it being here, on top of the bolster, because it feels like it gives me more of that opening inside of the chest that I'm looking for. But it doesn't work well if you have any, issues with your shoulder or your head and your neck where you need that support. So just use the blanket for support if that's the case. If the top arm overhead is the strain for the shoulder, please don't feel like it has to stay over in this manner. You can just have it resting on your hip or lightly in front of you on top of the bolster. You're obviously going to feel more with the arm overhead, but it's not really about feeling sensation either, because it's restorative. So play around with it. And your legs really can be in any formation. Sometimes I ask you to have the knees bent and stacked. Other times I ask you to create an L shape. So in this case, if you're on your left side, the left leg would extend down the mat, and then the right leg would cross over in front of you. I'm doing it if you need an example. Most gentle is knee stack. So now that we are in this side lying position, I want you to consider how we're opening up the side ribs. And I love the kind of the visual of thinking about your ribs opening like Venetian blinds. Consider how early in the day, when you wake up and go around your house and open up your blinds, how that natural light starts to shine through. And it'll even highlight certain things in the room or create shadows with certain objects in the room. Sometimes can even bring in those rainbow prisms. So think about opening the ribs like Venetian blinds, allowing light from the heavens to pour down towards your heart, but also equally imagining your inner light shining bright and coming through in the other direction. And with this imagery of the light beaming back and forth between the outside and the inside and the inside to the outside, I want you to begin to question what lights you up. What brings the light into your eyes? What is it that you're passionate about? So we're going to be contemplative here with the theme, labor of love. The yogis and the mystics have always said, follow your heart. Follow your intuition. Do what lights you up.
follow your passion. Unfortunately, our culture and society can sometimes tell us something different. They want us to be practical, they want us to be logical. Right? It's more about making money. Where can we make money? But then we also have those little sayings, do what you love. I feel very fortunate when I was a teenager that I had all these friends that were musicians. And even as I went on to college and I was studying and getting my degree, I was still friends with the same musicians. And they were still doing their craft, their art. And it took me a couple years in college to figure out what I was passionate about to study. And I discovered it was religious studies, women's studies, and sociology. So that's what I focused. But in the back of my mind, I was constantly thinking, I want to have a passion like those musicians. And I was seeking and seeking and seeking, and even though those subject matters interested me, it didn't really light me up. And I held on to that for 10 years. I asked the question for 10 years. I was seeking my thing for 10 years. And I discovered yoga. And I knew the deeper the dive I took into this practice, and it wasn't just helping my body, it wasn't just helping me heal from my past, it wasn't just making me more mindful. It was something I wanted and needed to share. This is my labor of love. If we look back on what's happened in 2020 and 2021, this whole charade is stripping us down and making us really look within. And a lot of people are discovering they're not happy with the direction they chose, the place that they're in, or the person they're coming home to. And it's created a lot of shifts and changes because people are understanding life is short. What is the most important thing? How can I live my life fully? What brings joy? Be here with those questions in mind.
Place your right hand on your bolster. Gently bring yourself up. We're going to take that to the other side. So we're going to turn the body. Each side may be different, right? So your shoulders may be different. Your flexibility may be a little bit more open or limited. So take your time coming back down. Trying to open the side ribs, the sides of the chest. Back into that imagery of the ribs being like the Venetian blinds that you're opening up for the day. Letting the light shine in and allowing the light to pour out. So I am just going to bring up with this labor of love, and it's Labor Day. Even though today is celebrating the workforce and the backbone of America, the labor of love that I'm speaking of is what we call in yoga or Sanskrit, seva. Your labor of love, or what lights you up, what drives your passion, what brings you joy, it doesn't necessarily have to be or become a profession. However, I can look across the room and I can see Rachel here, and she started to write. And she's written these children books. It's become a passion. It's her labor of love. Using words, using the power of words to have a positive influence. I look across the room and I see Christy here. Christy, who is been practicing Zen Buddhism. That's her passion. She's following it. She's discovering even a new teacher in that direction. And she leads a meditation circle in Leapersport. It's her labor of love. I'm thinking about Kathy Jasek, who moved away, but her labor of love was volunteering with animal shelters and fostering animals that needed a caregiver until they found a permanent home. I'm thinking of Susan Campbell, who volunteers at Thistle Farms. It's her labor of love. Brianna, who runs a Montessori school, it's a labor of love for these children. So being the question, what is your labor of love?
left hand on top of the bolster. And we'll do one more restorative position, taking you over. A holiday. We're gonna take our blanket on the wood floor. So, I guess it doesn't matter which direction you're in. The bolster's gonna be in front of that. And the blocks are gonna be in front of that. So sometimes we have to come up and come back down to figure out if the blocks are in the right spot. But the blocks are for the feet. We're sitting on the bolster. And we're actually coming down to the send shoulders, head and neck onto the blanket. Again, so that we can really open up. This is more of the base ribs. If for whatever reason, like it feels really good to my low back, but if it upsets your low back, you, instead of having the legs straight, you can slide the blocks in and have your knees bent with feet on top. This is going to be our final resting position. Your arms are free to be placed in any position of your liking. Consider how sometimes when we're in certain environments or having certain conversations, our arms might cross in front of our chest. How that's a sign of protection or shielding ourselves. And sometimes when we see people hunched over and their shoulders are shrouding over their chest, it's a sign of protection, or it's a revealing of some sort of hurt or heart wound. Let your breath be easy as it begins to coast up and down across your heart center. Let it coax you into a state of relaxation. Let it drop you down into the infinite well of love and limitless potential that lies latent within your heart. Seek and find the gifts, the beauty, and the treasure within your heart. Think of the chakras as being a rainbow bridge to ground us in the self while expanding towards universal consciousness. And the heart is like the peak of the bow that takes us from one to the other. Perhaps affirming mentally within, I am worthy of love. I am loving to myself and others. I understand there is an infinite supply of love. And I choose to live in balance and in harmony with myself and others. And deep in the flow of our breath, start to pedal the feet, point, flex. Stretching the fingers and hands and closing them up, and then stretching them open and closing them up. Then if you bend your knees, stacking your feet on the floor, you can either roll away to one side, or you can tuck and lift the tailbone and slide back on your blanket away from the bolster, which is just kind of fun. And then you can roll off to the side. So I'd like us to find a block. We're going to actually sit on the block. Just like we would, well, not the same way, so if you want to sit a bolster, that's fine. The bolster, we have to slide to the edge to give that little pelvic tilt forward. The block, you just sit on top of it, where the feet, one comes in front of the other. If you need to cross the ankles under, that's okay. Linda, you can do it. So just sit upright for a moment. Think about how when we're just kind of living in the three chakras and we're just meeting someone for the first time, the first chakra. Where are you from? Right? Who's your family? Where are you from? Tribal roots. And as the conversation continues, are you married? Have you children? Second chakra. Then you move up. What do you do? You do for a living? What is your role? Right? It's more of the third chakra. And eventually, when you start to get to know someone, right, you start to continue that conversation, you start to share your story. You start to share your insights. You start to share your emotions, like who you really are at a more heart level. And this is the heartstrings. This is where we develop true connection. Remember, the heart chakra is something important that we need to stay connected with ourselves. So that we're living from the space, operating from the space. They say the true intuitive center is actually the heart. Let's bring the hands to prayer position, Anjali. Bring the left and the right sides of the body together by just placing the hands in this gesture, but also recognizing this gesture is about grace, gratitude, characteristics, matters of the heart. I hope this practice today filled you up. Hope this practice today inspired you to follow your passion, to follow your heart, and to do what lights you up so that you are providing your labor of love to others, whatever that may be and however that looks. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Okay, so I just asked my son if he could send me the first, well, it's not the first song he ever wrote, but it's the first song he's ever written with like a verse, a chorus. This is where the guitar solo goes. This is where this goes. Like it was actually really thought out. And he shared it with me last night and I asked him to send it to me. He said, why? And I didn't answer him. And then he finally sent it to me. And I want to read this to you because, you know, at first when I read it, because I've been checking in on my son because he did online school for 1.5 years. He hasn't really been with a lot of peers, honestly, since all this started. He's been with Allison's girls and Ella, Rob's daughter. That's it, you know. And so every now and again I check on him because we hear like more and more depression is hitting especially teenagers. And there's been a lot more teenage suicides, right? And that suicide is from the depression and the isolation and the loneliness and the feeling of separateness. They're not feeling connected, right? It's a heart issue. So, I mean, he's fine. He's happy, like he's good, right? And then he shares this song with me last night. And he told me, he was like, before I let you read it, this is what it's about. And when I read it, I was like, oh my God, that's so clever. And it could actually be taken in so many different ways, but are you sure you're okay? You know, he's just laughing. So I don't want you to think he's depressed. This is just him expressing something. So through the pandemic, we allowed him to start a YouTube channel so that he could be creative. And so what he's done is he's got one YouTube channel that he plays his drums. Like when Eddie Van Halen died, he did a Van Halen song. And he's only got a few videos, not many, right? Just every now and then. And then he started a gaming channel, which is Xbox. Because ever since he was really little, ever since he was 5, 6, 7, 8 years old, I would drag him to classes with me, you know, and he would sometimes do classes with me. And sometimes if I did back-to-back classes, he would do one class with me and then the other class I'd let him read a book or watch a video or something. And I discovered on my computer, you know how you can like kind of record yourself? I didn't even know you could do that. He figured that out at like 6 years old. I didn't discover it for like 4 more years. And it was all these little video clips of him pretending like he was an announcer for a football game because he loves football. He was actually really good. Well, his gaming station is him playing Xbox and he's the announcer. He's like talking all the way through it. And he's really good at speaking, you know? So I've been like, whoa, Gabe, this is really cool. Like if you don't follow music, you should like be a DJ or do, you know, get into journaling or, you know, something like that. This is the song he wrote, and it's about his gaming channel, okay? It's called Nobody's There. Sometimes I feel like nobody's listening. Sometimes I feel like nobody's there. I'm screaming my heart out even though there's no need to shout, but nobody's listening. I'm all alone. It's true. Sometimes I need you to be there, or I need you to see that I'm putting all this work in, but you can't stand to hear me. But I keep going anyway, even though nobody's there. Of course, nobody's there. I want you to hear me. I want you to see me. I want you to notice me, but nobody's there. Guitar solo, repeating, nobody's there. And of course, my thing was, this is why I don't want you to be on social media. This is why this will do it to your brain. If you're not getting likes, if you're not getting noticed, it's like, no, Mom, I don't care about that. He's not even on like that sort of thing. And he was just explaining, I put all this work into these gaming things, and I just wanted to express it in a song. And he was just laughing about it. And I thought, that's creative. That's a really creative way to write it. And really anybody could read it and think about so many different angles of it, not knowing that's where he's coming from. But I wanted to share that because he just presented it to me yesterday. Think about what your labor of love is. What do you love? What lights you up? What is your passion? Yours is your art.
Okay.
Yes, you are.
My daughter's.
I'm gonna turn this off.